Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into the world's first and most famous cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. You've seen the headlines, right? From this mysterious white paper in 2009 all the way to Wall Street. We're going to break down what it is, how it actually works, and where it stands right now.
Okay, so how do you even begin to wrap your head around something like Bitcoin? Well, we're going to tackle it in 4 key parts. First, what's the big idea behind it? Then, how does all the tech actually work? After that, we'll take a look at its wild history. And finally, we'll try to sort out the tangled mess of rules around the world.
All right, first things first, we need to get the basic concept down. What makes Bitcoin so fundamentally different from the cash in your wallet or the money in your bank account?
So, at its very core, the idea was to create a totally new kind of money. Something you can't physically hold in your hand. It's 100% digital, created and held entirely on computers spread all across the globe.
And this part right here, this is what changes everything. You see, unlike dollars or euros, which are all controlled by governments and central banks, Bitcoin just isn't. It runs on a network where everyone is a peer. That means no single company, no government, no person is in charge. It's a completely different way of thinking about money.
And when you put them side by side like this, the difference is just stark. On one side, you've got traditional money, centralized, tied to one country, and linked to your personal ID. Then you have Bitcoin, decentralized, totally global, and operating with anonymous addresses. You can set up a wallet in seconds without giving up any personal info, which makes it incredibly accessible to anyone, anywhere.
All right, so if nobody's in charge, how does any of this actually work? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the engine of Bitcoin. How new coins get made and how the whole system stays secure and honest.
So you've probably heard this term mining, but forget about pickaxes and hard hats. This is all digital. It involves an absolutely immense amount of computing power, with super specialized computers all over the world competing to solve a really hard puzzle.
Yeah, think of it like this massive global race. All these powerful computers, these miners, are all crunching numbers, trying to be the first one to solve a complex math problem. Whoever cracks it first gets to add the next block of transactions to the official record. And for doing all that work, they get rewarded with brand new Bitcoin.
Now, this number, you got to remember this number. It's one of the most important things about Bitcoin. Unlike regular currencies, where governments can just print more and more, potentially causing inflation, Bitcoin is finite. There is a hard cap. Only 21 million will ever be created. That scarcity is baked right into its DNA.
So, what's the magic that holds all of this together? Well, it's a technology called the blockchain. And honestly, the easiest way to think about it is like a giant, public, digital receipt book that everyone can see and share. It's a chain made of blocks, and each one of those blocks contains a list of all the recent transactions.
And here's the kicker. Once a transaction is added to the blockchain, it's set in stone. It cannot be changed, it cannot be deleted. It's this feature that provides all the security and trust for the entire network. It tracks who owns what and lets people send money directly to each other, all without needing a bank in the middle.
Okay, so we've got the how. Now let's zoom out and look at the what happened. Because Bitcoin's story so far has been nothing short of a roller coaster. It has been quite a ride.
It all kicked off back in 2009 with a paper from the totally anonymous Satoshi Nakamoto, who proposed this new electronic cash system. For years, it was just a niche thing for tech geeks. But then its value just exploded, soaring past $19,000 in 2017. And after a huge crash, it came roaring back in 2021, hitting almost $65,000. But the biggest thing that year? A Bitcoin ETF launched on the New York Stock Exchange. That was its official arrival in mainstream finance.
And that brings us to a huge, critical question for any global asset, especially one that kind of shakes up the old system. What are the rules? How do governments around the world even feel about Bitcoin? So, is it legal? Well, the short answer is, it's complicated. There's no single rulebook for the world, and how Bitcoin is treated legally changes dramatically depending on where you are.
Let's take the United States, for example. It's perfectly legal to buy, sell, and own Bitcoin. But, and this is a big but, the IRS doesn't see it as money. Nope, they treat it as property, kind of like a stock or a house. And what that means is, if you sell it and make a profit, you owe capital gains tax. And when you zoom out and look at the whole planet, it's this crazy quilt of different rules. You've got countries like China that have banned it outright,
Plenty of others have put up some pretty heavy restrictions. And then you have this total outlier, El Salvador, which went and made history by adopting Bitcoin as its official currency.
And yet, even with all this confusion and regulatory uncertainty, you just can't argue with the numbers. Bitcoin's scale is, well, it's undeniable. Its total market value has topped $2 trillion. It absolutely dwarfs all the other cryptocurrencies combined. It is still the undisputed king.
So, after all that, where do we stand? Bitcoin is kind of a commodity, kind of a property, kind of a currency, and a groundbreaking technology, all at once. Is it the new digital gold? Is it the future of money? Or is it something else entirely? A decade in, the world is still trying to figure it out. And one thing's for sure, its story is far from over.